Welcome back to the channel. My name is Francis. So you've just got yourself a brand new Fujifilm X-T50 and you'd like to know a little bit more about how to operate it. Well, keep on watching. Alright, so first let's talk about navigating the menus. So on the Fujifilm X-T50, you can definitely use the joystick when you're in the menus to navigate around. Now, one thing that I like to do is using the front and rear command dials to navigate. So by using the front command dial, I can jump full pages, and using the rear command dial, I can go with single items. I can also press in the joystick to select, display back to go back, but I can also use the rear command dial to use as the OK button. So hopefully this helps navigate the menu a little bit faster and quicker. I personally love using the front command dial to jump full pages. When I know where I want to go, I can get quickly to it. Alright, so on the X-T50, you will be using your shutter speed dial to find your shutter speed, the aperture ring on the lens itself to change your aperture, and then you'll be able to use the front command dial to change your ISO. So shutter speed, aperture on the lens, and then ISO on the front wheel. Now, if you wanted to use the more traditional way of changing your exposure by using the command dials for the aperture and shutter speed, you could do so. So simply set the lens to the A position. Now, make sure that you have your A position set to command. If you didn't do so, simply go into the menu, onto the wrench icon, to button and dial setting, and then go down to the second page to aperture ring setting A, and then change it from auto to command. So now I will click on my front command dial to toggle between the ISO and the f-stop, and then if I rotate my front command dial, I can change my aperture. Clicking again will get me back to ISO. Now if I want to control my shutter speed using the rear command dial, I can do so as well. Simply set the shutter speed dial to T, and then from there I can use my rear command dial to navigate through all the shutter speeds. So there are a couple of focusing modes on the Fujifilm X-T50, so let's get through them. First, we go into the menu, onto the AF/MF setup, and then we can find the AF mode. So first we can see single point. So your single point is going to be your box here, and then when you move your joystick around, you can move it around, and then by using the rear command dial, you can make it bigger or smaller. If we go back into the menu, and then we choose zone, we then have a zone that we can move around and then make bigger or smaller, and then you can see we have some custom zones as well showing up right now. So when using zone, the camera will automatically detect the subject within that zone area. Now I mentioned the zone custom settings, so let's have a look at it. So right underneath the AF mode, we find the zone custom settings, and then we can customize 3 different zones that we would like to have that are non-conventional, not a simple square. So we can go in and then choose zone 1, and then we can rotate the front command dial to change the width. So I can make it fully covering the screen, and then use the rear command dial to change the height so I can have the full thing or just have a very slim box just like that. So as mentioned before, we can customize 3 different zones. Now my third AF mode is going to be my wide tracking. So when I select this option, and I am in AFC. I will use my AF box, so the white box, to choose the subject I want to track. This is quite useful when I want to track objects or things that are not a face or not within the subject detection options of the camera. So if I want to track a product, for example, that's going to be very useful. So I simply lock my position and then it will track that object or whatever that was through the screen. So again, very useful when you want to track something that's not a face or something within the subject detection options. And then lastly, we have all, which will allow us to navigate through all of the AF modes by scrolling the command dials when I'm changing my focus point size. So if I make it bigger, I get to the biggest size. Now I get into zone, I keep going, and then I get into wide tracking and then circling back to single point. Now lastly, for this section, I do want to mention that the X-T50 features 425 autofocusing points. By default though, you only display 117. So by going to the second page of the AF/MF menu, we can find number of focus points, and then I can change it from 117 to 425. So again, a lot more choices, but a little bit more thorough when I'm navigating, moving my focus box around. But again, you can choose if you want to have 425 or 117 AF points. Now the Fujifilm X-T50 features face and eye detection as well as subject detection, which is quite useful. Of course, if you want to film or track someone and have their faces or eyes in focus, or if you want to track specific subjects. So how do I go about setting that up? I simply go into the menu, onto the AF/MF menu, and go to the second page, and then I can see face and eye detection setting, and then I can turn it on with eye off, so only tracking the face. I can choose eye auto so that the camera will choose which eye to focus on, whichever is closest to the lens. And I can have the right eye priority or left eye priority. I personally like to have right eye. That way I know the camera is only focusing on the one eye, and I don't really care personally if it's closest to the lens or not. So that's just my personal preference. Then just underneath that, we have subject detection settings, so we can choose whether we want to track animals, birds, automobiles, motorcycles and bikes, airplanes, and train. Now please note that when you have face and eye detection enabled, subject detection is going to be disabled, and vice versa. Now the Fujifilm X-T50 is highly customizable. It has many function buttons that can be customized to quickly access more frequently used features. So how do we go about setting that up? We simply press on the display back button for a second or two, and then we'll see a diagram pop up of the camera. And then we can navigate through all the various function buttons and then see what they do. And then the nice thing we have is that we have a highlighted in green area. That's the button that you're currently customizing. Now, additionally to the function buttons themselves, you also have touch functions as well. So you can swipe left, right, up, or down to bring up some different features. Note that if you don't want to have that, you can also turn it off within the menu. So you just go and find the button you want to customize. So in this case, the AF1 button, we're going to set it to be our subject detection on and off. So we just go, we have 10 pages of different features that we can choose from. And then I'm just going to find subject detection on or off. So I've assigned it to the AF on button, and now you can see if I click on it, I can turn it off or on simply by clicking on that button. And then you could go on and make all of the various assignments to the various function buttons so that you can quickly access your most frequently used features. So one of the nice things about Fujifilm cameras is that we have the film simulation modes. Now, one cool thing about the X-T50 is it has a dedicated film simulation dial, which we can have the most popular film simulation on, and then we can assign 3 film simulation positions that are not already set. So how do I go about setting these up? I simply go into the menu, and then I go to the IQ menu. Onto the first page, I can see that I have film simulation dial setting, and then I have the 3 film simulation positions that I can assign my film simulations of choices that are not already on the dial itself. So let's say I wanted to assign Eternal Bleach Bypass to film simulation 1. And then the other thing that is very cool is that the Acros position, since we have 4 different options, so Acros standard, and then we can use it with a yellow, red, or green filter. We can choose if we want to have, by default, for example, the red filter assigned to the Acros position. So when I bring it to Acros, I have Acros plus red filter. Also, another neat thing is that I can press on the Q button to bring up some information about the film simulation itself. So speaking about film simulation, one of the very popular thing is to make film recipes. So you can create your own film recipes and then save them to custom positions. So that's very nice to quickly get that, personalized look and then save them and then get access to it very quickly. So I go into the menu, and then you'll go to the IQ menu, and then get to the 4th page to auto update custom setting, set it to disable. Now go to edit save custom setting, create new, you click OK, and then you go in to edit and check your settings. So I'm gonna quickly just do some changes. So image quality, I want fine. The film simulation I'm going to use is going to be classic chrome. Now, one quick point that I want to mention while I'm there is when you want to use these save position C1 to C7, you want to have your film simulation dial set to C, so you don't have a physical film simulation set on the dial. You set it to C. So I keep going, grain effect, strong with small size, and so on and so on. And then you'll see as you do changes, they'll be recorded, and you know that by seeing a red dot on the screen. So let's say I'm done. I go back, I can give it a custom name. So I'm just gonna write FB, set it, and then I press back, and then you can see I have C1 FB. Now, going back to something we learned before, I like to assign a function button to get quick access to my film simulation recipes. So just press display back for a while. Function 1, I like to assign it to this one here. So I'm gonna go and find with my option, select custom setting. And with that assigned, when I click on my function 1, you can see I bring it up, select custom setting, and then C1 is FB. And then of course you can go on and customize up to 7 of these custom recipes. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this how-to video on the Fujifilm X-T50. Now, if you'd like to know more about this and other Fujifilm products, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And until next time, c'était Francis pour les Fuji Guys.